welcome back to Baking with Bob. Today we are going to be making flapjack. But first of all, I'd like to give a few shout outs. Let me just check my sheet. So first of all, I'd like to give a shout out to Rachel and Tyler and family. Well done on making your mini egg cheesecake last week. It looked absolutely divine. And then next up we've got Emma and family, again made a cheesecake, so well done for you. It absolutely looked amazing. And then third of all, I'd like to give a shout out to Alina and Lauren, who are the ones that requested this video today for flapjack with a chocolate topping. So that's what we will be doing. Any more shout outs? Let's have a quick look. Not on my list, but if you would like a shout out, all you need to do is send a picture of your results of Baking with Bob to myself, and remember to like and subscribe the channel. Leave a comment underneath as well if you like. You can leave images on baking.with.bob on Instagram, and I'll give you a shout out. So let's get into it. So today we are going to need 150 grams of unsalted butter, 75 grams of golden syrup, 150 grams of light brown sugar, 350 grams of porridge oats, or you can use granola, just make sure it's unsweetened, a pinch of salt, and chocolate is your optional topping. Like I did last time with the light brown sugar, I still haven't got any, not been able to get any, so I'm using my dark soft brown sugar, and then taking 25 grams out and adding 25 grams of normal white caster sugar, and that should help balance it out a little bit. So, first of all, what do we need to do? We need to wash our hands. Let's go wash our hands. Okay, our hands are just a little bit wet. Our hands are nice and washed. Next, we need to preheat the oven at 180 degrees Celsius, or 160 if it's a fan oven. 350 Fahrenheit if you're in Fahrenheit, or gas mark 4. So let's get the oven on. There we go. Second, we need to line a tin. So you will need a tin that is 8 inches by 10 inches, or in centimetres, that's 20 centimetres by 25 centimetres, with some parchment paper. I'm using a glass baking dish, and as per usual, a couple of squirts of your oil just to help the parchment stick to the bottom. So let's pop that in. There we go. Doesn't need to look pretty, just as long as it's in and covered up the sides and the bottom. And then pop that to one side. So third, what we're going to do is we're going to put the butter, the syrup and the sugar in the saucepan and stir on a medium heat until dissolved. Then at the end we'll add a pinch of salt and the oats, but we'll get there in a second. So we want a saucepan, you want your butter, your syrup and your sugar. Butter. Oh, it helps if I put it on the nice medium heat, doesn't it? And sugar. So I just added those in, just to let you know as well, 75 grams of golden syrup is about 3 tablespoons. So there's 1, 2, 3. And just scrape that excess off the spoon. And then, like I said, what you want to do is you want to mix all this until it's all melted together. It may take a couple of minutes. So what I will do is I will fast forward the video and then come back to you as soon as that's melted. Okay, so there we go, you can see it's all melted and incorporated. When you're stirring it, if you can't hear any crunchy bits, so sugar granules, that means you're all ready. Now there is an optional extra you can do at this point if you want to. If you want to make chocolate flapjack, you can add 40 grams of cocoa powder into the mix now. Stir it all up until it's all nice and smooth, and then take off the heat and continue. We're not doing cocoa powder today, so we are just going to take off the heat, add a pinch of salt, stir that in. You definitely want to turn the heat off first before you add the salt, because it could bubble up. And then you want to stir in your oats. And keep stirring until all of the dry oats become wet. Excuse me. You can see that they'll change from a nice pale colour to this darker brown colour. So just keep going until they're all an even colour. Because you don't want any dry bits when you bite into it later. And there we go, we're looking really nicely incorporated now. You can tell as well when it's nice and incorporated, because if you push down with your spatula or your spoon, you can see it stays there. It doesn't crumble like the surroundings. So, there we go. See if I can give you a close-up on here. All nice and mixed in. So the next step is to empty this, or to take this out and put this into the pre-lined tin that we did earlier. So I'm just going to move my camera for that. And then empty it all out into the onto the parchment. Every last bit. We don't want any waste. We don't like waste. And then you want to press it down into the tin. Now obviously, again, like I've mentioned in previous recipes, that if you use a tin that's oversized, you'll end up with really thin ones, and if you use a smaller one, you'll end up with thicker ones. We like nice and thin flapjack, more like a flapjack bite. And because I haven't got the right size tin. So as nice as flat as we can get it. There we go, that's looking great. And that is how it should look. Nice and flat and even. Let's see if I can give you a close-up on the big camera. There we go, nice and flat and even. And then into the oven it goes. So let's pop that into there. So, with the timings for the oven, let me just double check what on my test bake. So, if you would like them soft and chewy, you leave them in for 20 to 25 minutes. If you're more like me and you prefer them a bit more firm and crunchy, then you leave them in for 30 to 35 minutes, depending on your preference. So we will be back in about 30 minutes to take them out of the oven. Okay, so it's been about 23 minutes. Like I said before, I like mine, my flapjack to be more crunchy. But for the sake of this video, I'm going to stop it in the middle, so it's slightly crunchy on the edges and nice and soft and chewy in the middle. So I'm going to take it out of the oven now. So let's just grab this, let's turn the oven off. And there we go. So, I'll show you on there. I'll put it on the close-up camera. So as you can see, nice and brown here. A bit browner towards the edges. Don't touch it, it's ever so hot. Ever so hot. But what you can do is I want you to leave it in the tin whilst it cools. But before it cools completely, you can score your lines in for your portions. So let me just grab a knife. And then let's see if you can see on this camera here. So it's nice and soft still. So let me just score out some lines of where I want my portions to be. I always cut off the edges because I like to eat those. And then we can make some nice square ones in the middle. So they don't have to be completely even. Depends how big of a slice or a portion you like. As you can see, I like quite big portions. And there we go. What you do is just leave that in the tin, like I said, at room temperature until it starts to be nice and cool. It will condense slightly as it cools as well. But in the meantime, what we can do is you can either leave it like that and then chop it up when it's finished, or you can decorate it. I like my flapjack, get my words right, I like my flapjack with some chocolate on the top, just to give it that extra balance of sweetness. I mean, it'll be quite sweet anyway, but I do like it. So I use dark chocolate because the bitter of the dark chocolate with the sweet of the flapjack really blends together really nice. But you can use anything. Now, a recommendation I've got for you with it just Easter just being gone is if you've got Easter eggs left over that you're not eating up straight away, you can melt the Easter eggs down in the microwave on 10-second blasts and then drizzle it nicely over the top. Like I said, I'm going to use dark chocolate. Another nice thing you can do is you can mix and match your chocolate to go on the top. Now, if I had some white chocolate, what I would have done is I'd have used my dark chocolate and drizzled it over the top. And then I'd have got the white chocolate and drizzled it the opposite direction to give it a nice balance of colour on the top. So I will come back to you once the flapjack has cooled down a little bit more, and then we'll start to decorate the top of the flapjack. So I shall see you in a moment. Okay, so it's been about 30 minutes with the flapjack cooling. It's not quite cold yet, but it's cold enough for me to crack on with the next part. So like I said, we're going to decorate the top with chocolate. So I've got somewhere, here we go, about 50 grams of dark chocolate, and I'm just going to put it into the microwave on 10-second blasts, stir 10-second blast until it's all melted. A little tip when it comes to chocolate, make sure that your container that you're putting it in the microwave with, or if you're using a double boiler, has got no water particles in it at all. Please make sure it's dry. Make sure that your spoon or spatula that you're going to use to stir has no water, because if there's any water in it at all, it will make the chocolate go stiff and it will be unworkable. So that's my number one tip when it comes to chocolate. So I'm going to pop this in the microwave. Please do be careful with your chocolate in the microwave because it's very easily burned, and that's why we're doing 10 to 20-second blasts. If you've done it before, up to 20. If you've never done it before, just keep doing 10 seconds. Okay, so we're back. So I have melted my chocolate in the microwave, and then all I'm going to do is I'm going to get my spatula and I'm just going to drizzle the chocolate all over. Nice big blodges of it all over. Now if you want to do a complete layer over the top, that's up to you. If you want to smooth it out, you can. If you want to decorate it, you can. I just like to have it all drooled in a kind of drooly mess kind of way. Rustic, shall we call it. And that is the flapjack complete there. Now, what you want to do, let me just show you on the big camera. So you can see I have covered it just messily. You want to leave that so the chocolate sets, and then once the chocolate has set, you can get a nice sharp knife with an adult to cut up where you've already scored your lines in into your portions, plate them up and enjoy. So that's it for this week. That was the flapjack recipe. I will insert an image here. Next week we will be making Rocky Road, which has been requested by Esbe and Annabelle. So thank you very much for your request. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe, bell icon, all those kind of things. If you'd like to leave a comment below, you're more than welcome. Any requests, they're also welcome. And I shall see you for the Rocky Road next time. Bye bye.